Welcome back to the 2023 Jonesboro Open presented by Play It Again Sports. We are in beautiful Jonesboro, Arkansas on the Gatekeeper Media coverage of the Round 2 Chase Card. I'm Andrew Fish, joined here by Nathan Queen.
Yeah, as you stated, beautiful Jonesboro, Arkansas. Lots of rolling hills and a beautiful layout that they've cut out, not quite carved out, but cut out on this course for us. Provides great aesthetics and great viewing pleasure for the fans.
Absolutely. You see our Round 2 card. Congratulations to them on making the Chase Card. It gets more and more challenging every single week as the field is just absolutely shredding this course. A little less wind than perhaps we're used to at Jonesboro.
Yeah, and just a plethora of double-digit scores here as you see the entire top 10 leaderboard under double digits under par. Getting into John Willis, first time on coverage this year, putting with the zero Nexuses. Going to see some Auroras for the upshots, Dracos, Firebirds, and some Scorpiuses for those long distance.
Corey Ellis, sponsored by Discraft, putting with the Challenger OS. Corey, a very, very good putter and a ton of power. Going to see several zones, all manner of buzzes for his mid-range shots, and mostly forces for distance.
And Emerson Keith, Lone Star sponsor, going to be putting with the Blue Bonnet. Probably see some middies and some harpoons for the mid-ranges. I think going to be leaning on those bayonets for the distance shots.
Yeah, this is a very distance driver heavy course. Chris Dickerson also putting with that Challenger OS. Loves throwing buzz up shots as well as zones. And he was throwing the Predator quite a bit last week, and I imagine the same here for those shots inside 400 or so. Hole 1, let's start us off with a big distance rip, 470 feet, some rolling hills, and we're playing to this further basket. Not really a whole lot to talk about.
Out of Tyler, Texas, John Willis.
Not really a whole lot to talk about in terms of out of bounds or wind. This is just a thrower's dream to start the tournament. Or to start the round. John out of Texas. Reliant on backhands for the most part. Very good power. And very deliberate about his process. That's a little bit new this year for him. And his first time on coverage in 2023, he told me he was a little bit nervous to start this round. But still, if that's what your nervous shot gets, not too terrible.
Second to tee out of Barbersville, West Virginia, Corey Ellis.
Yeah, for nervous, a lot of the time you're going to see people fade out way early and end up in the rough. He's just on the outside and still going to have a birdie look. Corey Ellis, another player with plenty of power. We know he's got those line drive shots, so with the low wind here, we could see just a straight line at it.
And I think that was the idea, just to kind of overpower the disc, but does fade out early into the shoal on the left. We noted in round 1 that gets thick in a hurry.
Out of Pollitt Point, Texas, Emerson Keith.
And Emerson recently coming back from a shoulder injury, collarbone, I believe.
Rotator. I think
cuff.
It was rotator cuff.
Yeah, feeling pretty comfortable with it now. He's a couple events in. Said last week, just a little bit uncomfortable trusting it, but feeling better this week. Looking to keep pushing forward.
And I believe this is a bayonet. Taking a little extra second to gather his thoughts. And there's the hyzer flip to drift. That's going to run near circle's edge. Pretty good result.
Very nice shot. Lots of late turn there.
And then bringing us up on this chase card out of Gray, Tennessee, Chris Dickerson.
Chris Dickerson. We're not in Tennessee, but it seems like he got a little bit of home crowd cheers there.
Yeah, I reckon. An adjacent state. And Chris has performed pretty darn well at the Jonesboro Open in the past. You see how hard he plants that front foot, throwing everything he's got into this shot. Finally, somebody to get it to the right side of the basket. And actually goes a little bit long, well inside circle one.
Yeah, Chris uses his momentum well to get his disc up to speed, and use that well right there to get it to drift over to the right. Corey lucky to not be in too much stuff here. Going to have a long opportunity.
And a little bit short, but a pretty gentle result. Nathan, a bunch of these baskets are on sloped greens, so look to players who are being aggressive to understand that that is a risk of rollaway.
It is. In most cases, you'd rather be online no matter what's going on. But with these long circle 2 looks, it's really better to miss left or right, because if you catch metal, there's a good opportunity you could roll away on these slopes. And that looked like it could have been a little bit of nerves from Emerson. Didn't look the smoothest out of the hand.
And Dickerson with a really good start to his round. We saw Emerson, after both his drive and his putt, kind of practicing the motion in the background. We'll see if he can make the appropriate corrections. And looks like a couple of par cleanups here.
Yeah, not quite as many birdies here today as round 1. Just 24% of the field instead of 35. And a little bit less adrenaline going here for round 2. Bringing us into hole 2, 820-foot par 4. You'd like to get somewhere in this area to have a good opportunity to reach the pin. Big throwers are going to be able to skip up a little bit farther than that. But either way, you've got to get at least 380, more than likely 420 feet or so. Low branches laid and a bit of a high floor also. A very difficult par 4, but fun one to play.
Dickerson going to take the high gap off the tee. This has more potential to push to the left side. If you listened to our coverage yesterday, which I sincerely hope you did, Nathan spoke a little bit about the kind of a swampy area in the middle of this fairway. Dickerson has carried left and long of that. But we got some overnight and morning rain in this Saturday round.
And this needs to get in front. It does end up missing that stuff on the right, but he's pinched his angle off a little bit. He's going to have to throw a lot straighter of a shot, or more of an anhyzer, than the other players are approaching that basket.
Ellis playing a hyzer to flip up. And that is center cut. Enough power to get to the front side of that kind of wetter depression.
Yeah, nice for him to get that skip. Looked like he may have been able to get stuck in that little spot, but does skip up past it.
And Keith also playing the hyzer. Not a whole lot of stand-up, but definitely pushing towards that left side, and will be near Ellis.
Yeah, 3 players in pretty good position. I believe John throws far enough to still reach here, but he does have more angles to work with.
Long time to hold over an anhyzer, but does push up toward that left side.
Oh, no. And he has gone too long in some OB I did not bring up on the flyover. It's not something you expect to really see too often. It is fairly close, around circle's edge behind the basket, but difficult to reach.
These first 4 holes kind of follow the property line, and a little whisker tickler from Emerson Keith. That's going to be a very, very routine birdie tap in.
I hope that one sticks somehow, whisker tickler.
It just came to me in the moment. I didn't premeditate that, I promise.
And Corey needed a little bit more height or a little bit more power on that one. Still going to be up there for a birdie look around circle's edge.
And there's that Predator. Dickerson trying to pull it over right of the basket, which avoids the branches a little better. And good speed control inside circle 1 once again. Corey Ellis, very dangerous from circle 2, and I believe in 2021, very nice. Led everybody in circle 1 putting percentage. Willis found, oh, I'm sorry, we're going to watch Corey's putt again. Look at the full extension.
And no doubt about it. He liked it out of his hand immediately, you could tell. Just dead center on that pole. Confident.
Oh, yeah. Love to see it. So John had found the barbed wire fence long and left. But a great knockdown for the par save.
And look at him put the putter in the holster afterwards. I'll have to go back and watch that if you missed it.
Yeah, I think there will be some other opportunities, but a very neat hat feature.
Chris Dickerson able to go back-to-back birdies to start the round. Not something you're going to see too often. This hole only had 18% of the field take birdies. That's 20 players.
We see everybody throwing 3 times. Unfortunately, 1 bonus stroke added in there. Hole 3, 435 feet. The suggestion of a gap off the tee. There is another barbed wire fence to the left side, but otherwise just a ton of open space. And not a whole lot going on in terms of wind. So look to see Anheuser releases to be right of the basket and then flex back at the end. This hanging out pretty wide.
Yeah, and I believe that was a bit low out of the hand as well. Never really gave it a chance to come back. And the no wind feeling right here is pretty strange. If you've played out here a lot, you don't really trust it, or you don't want to trust it.
Yeah, Jonesboro kind of notorious for, good amount of wind intensity, but definitely swirliness.
And you can trust this shot from Corey Ellis. Let's take a look at that again. Nice drift off to the right. Gonna go up there and tickle some more whiskers on the way to the bullseye.
I think that's good on just about any fairway on the course, maybe in the world. Keith following Dickerson over, just not the stability to fight back.
See if John's able to dial in this drive, get his first birdie of the round. Good save on the last hole, but looks like he's going to need a really good putt to get that first birdie this round. He's pulled that over to the right. Going to be deep circle 2 if inside.
And good clean spin on that attempt. But from that far back, you kind of just accept your 3 drop in.
Yeah. Accept your 3 or you might get that highlight. Chris Dickerson looking for the highlight from a little bit closer. Looked good the whole way, but ends up just a bit right.
John with a good tap in, or I guess clean up.
How's it going, everybody? John Willis here, and thank you all for checking out the Gatekeeper coverage on the Chase card today. I just want to give a shout out to my sponsors, Millennium Golf Discs, for having the best discs in the game. Putt confidently, making sure I'm keeping those putters in the basket, and ready disc golf for making sure I'm staying healthy out on the course. So check me out at _John Willis on my Instagram. Play smart, throw Millennium.
Moving into hole 4, our second par 4 of the day, 660 feet. You want to land somewhere in this area. Big shots could maybe skip up to the front of this hill here. You got 3 OB clusters over on the right side, OB all the way down the left side. The main feature on this tee shot of this low branch you see. Get underneath that branch and move to the left.
You called that Corey Ellis is a line drive thrower, and getting under that branch, no problem for him. Even with the weird big flare skip, still throws it nearly 400 feet, leaving him a hyzer, possibly blind into the green.
Yeah, Chris going with a flatter, less stable disc here. Pushing underneath that branch, not getting quite the same distance, but gonna be looking straight at the basket.
Emerson Keith, good drifting shot. But with that rain we got overnight, I think we're seeing that less skips or more severe skips.
Yeah, those second 2 shots hit the ground pretty flat, and with the ground wet, makes it a little softer. It's going to grab those quickly. But with a steep angle like this that John is on, there's less for it to grab, and it uses that wetness as to skip a little faster.
Yeah, it's like the slickness of ice almost. But these late cards getting pretty ideal throwing conditions, except for the ground. Emerson Keith, once again, inside circle 1. Good distance control on a kind of a deceptive basket. This looks like a zone. It's kind of fading like a zone, but just to circle's edge.
Yeah. I believe it was a zone, just didn't quite get the finish that you're looking for on that one. Corey all the way over here on the left side, just going to have kind of a hyzer into the green, but it is blind.
But navigated successfully.
Yeah, up there right around 14 feet. Should be a pretty simple birdie for him. He's looking to have his first turkey of the day.
And John, with the best drive of the group, can see the basket. Nathan, this would be pretty good for him to get on the board.
And that should do it. Dials up that distance control nicely. Doesn't push too long, but leaves himself a comfortable putt just long in the basket.
And I like that he went with a pretty neutral disc. Like he controlled the fade rather than letting the disc do that.
And Dickerson looked a bit rushed there, I think. I'm not exactly sure. Something seemed different to me. But kind of sails it over top. A bit of a tester now coming back for par.
And that appears to have flopped out the backside. Pretty good putt to my eye. Unfortunately, hole 4 doesn't agree.
Emerson up high in the chains, going to card his second birdie of the round. This hole kind of in the middle of the pack as far as difficulty goes. Lots of birdies given, 54% of the field. But a few bogeys taken also. This is one of the more OB-laden holes.
Yeah, and I think you do have to test it at least a little bit in order to birdie because of its proximity to the green and because you are throwing from a couple hundred feet away. We see 3 birdies and Dickerson taking a step backwards. Hole 5, par 3, 495 feet. This one's not going to score quite like a par 3. A lot of open space to work with where a layup zone can happen, but on a calm day like this, we may see some players try to test the green with a more aggressive distance driver shot. Out of bounds all the way down the right side. This is big mash from Corey, but I don't think he's being too ambitious. Maybe just squeezing a jump putt from the short landing zone. Any out-of-bounds shot off the tee has to go to a drop zone.
Yeah, somebody with as much power as Corey still throwing it way up high just to ensure he doesn't go too far on his layup shot. Emerson liked the line pretty well. Gonna do a similar one, but catch a roll. Does curl around. Gonna leave him more of a hyzer shot rather than the gap shot.
I tell you what, those slow rolls are a very stressful couple of seconds.
This is more aggression here, I think. The spotter's turning and watching it nicely. That had lots of speed on it. That got there really fast.
Yeah, you see John Willis's power. Little bit of drift to the left, and then the stability on the end. Well done. Going to get himself the rare circle's edge birdie look. And Chris now has a wind read for that. Oh boy. Just kind of nose up immediately.
Yeah, I can't see that being the plan to go that high trying to get aggressive on this one. And now gonna have trouble. It's gonna be difficult to go for this. It looks like he is trying. Oh boy.
And from bad to worse.
Yeah, that's a tough decision to make. This is a difficult par 3 in the first place, so you don't really want to pitch out and just try to take your 4. But that OB in front of the basket coming into play, as you can see, he's now going to be putting for 4 from circle 2's edge, maybe outside.
Yeah, from this short side. And Ellis, he didn't appear to have believed it was ever in, but you like the effort. Manageable comeback coming. And
a little sarcastic fist pump there. Just a little bit shy. That was a little heartbreaking, I think, after the last putt. But John Willis says, "Get out of here, heartbreak. Give me back-to-back birdies." He is one of just 13 birdies on this hole today.
And I wonder if anybody else tried to do a little flare on the way in and drop their disc. Good on you, John. We see the highs, we see the lows. It's all on film.
Speaking of highs and lows, you start out a little bit higher here and drop down lower to the green. Hole 6, 315 feet. Island hole. Not very wide. Around the circle's edge, a little bit deeper than that on the short side. This looks like a great shot from John.
With that upslope, you can kind of throw the putter or mid-range ace run with a backhand and be pretty confident you're going to stop short of the wall. We see overstable forehand as a pretty common play as well. And Corey using all of the right side.
Oh my goodness. That is fortunate.
Yeah, that's the nicest thing you can say about that. He is inbounds.
And this is what you're going to see on most days when there is any type of wind at all. But as calm as it is today, the backhand was a much bigger play. But as Emerson shows you, that side hand works well.
It sure does. Just throw it on one angle. Let the disc do the finishing part. Dickerson back to that zone.
Oh boy.
And that's the way to avoid any putting mishaps.
Yeah, I believe that putt is going to go in. We're going to watch this zone fly into this island again. Can't draw it up much better than that.
Yeah, a little bit of force over, slow pan back. Ellis happily accepts the course's gift and knocks in a birdie. Nicely done.
Yeah, that's a feel-good birdie there, you know. You know that he knows he got a little lucky there. And when you're able to connect on those lucky shots, just makes you feel even better about that round. As John Willis now's got himself a turkey.
Yeah, slow start, little bit of nerves, but all of a sudden, 3 down, hanging in that top 5 spot.
Emerson Keith gonna go ahead and drop in his birdie. Chris Dickerson right there. We've got our
Loving
first
these
diamond.
new Tour Series forces. If you can find the domey ones, they're money, nice and overstable but glidey. And making putts with these Challenger OS rubber blends. You can find them at discraft.com.
Hole 7, an uphill par 4 at 675 feet. The objective off the tee, go far, but don't pin yourself behind anything big and branchy. The signature feature of this green is that it's surrounded on both sides by rows of trees that I think follow old fence lines. Yesterday we saw kind of a mix of players going to the right side or left side of the initial pines.
Oh, and this is low and a bit turned over, but there's tons of room here, and it's not turned over too far. He's going to be in just a fine spot.
Yeah, you can be separated by 250 feet from your card mates, and both of you have thrown an equally good shot.
As we are about to see, as they are close to that 250 feet mark away from each other right now, and both in just a fine spot. Corey Ellis up on the high side.
Yeah, potentially a little more technical approach, but gets the elevation part of the hole out of the way early. Keith looks like he's trying to play the... Well, I won't speculate. He's trying... Oh, God. I don't know what I'm doing.
He's up here.
He's up here.
Maybe kind of behind that tree. He's in between land right there. Going to have to deal with some low branches. As Dickerson is going to get up here to the left side.
This is what I think Emerson envisioned, but he kind of got caught between the full turnover to be to the right side of the large tree in the middle. Willis going to the forehand.
Yeah, probably about 300 feet or so, playing uphill, so a little bit longer.
This is the first we've seen of him throwing forehands, but look at it. It's inside the circle.
Yeah, has some power on it. Maybe a little bit too much turn, but just getting picky on it. Circle is always good.
And you see that Keith being pinned behind that tree has to work a little bit, but hey, another inside the circle.
Yeah, it worked well for him. He's got that low shot underneath the branches dialed in.
He's kind of feasting on those, kind of circle 1x bonus putts from 14 to 15 feet or so.
And we see Corey Ellis's standstill line drive power there, just up there inside the circle.
So much of this hole is built on what happens off the tee. Give yourself a credible line, and the upshot is relatively routine inside 300 feet. Willis going to start us off on the putting.
And although he missed that putt, you can tell he's feeling what his body's doing right now. As soon as he released it, you could tell he knew it was a little bit off.
Mm-hmm. Kind of pulling across himself there.
So a good sign. It's good when you know that when you know what you've done, know that you've messed up. As Corey Ellis able to card his birdie, Emerson Keith going to do the same.
So Nathan, when you make a mistake like that and you know what you've done, how do you use that for, immediate feedback?
Oh, well, you just know not to do it again. That's the main. You don't really want to think about the mistake that you made. You just want to realize that it was made so you can correct later.
And in for his par.
A good bounce back from Chris after a couple rough holes. He's got 2 birdies in a row. Moving into hole 8, another great opportunity to add another birdie. 324 feet around this big cluster of trees on the right side. Kind of something nose up with the forehand to get around and still push right quickly. This looks pretty good from Corey.
Yeah, that's all you ever need. You don't have to park this. You just have to make sure that you use the correct half of the circle. Keith, a little higher, a little more inside. Does he have the distance? He sure does.
He does indeed. Used a faster disc, so although it did look more high and inside, it got around that corner a little bit quicker.
Dickerson looks like he's going more stable, but puts a touch of flex on it to begin with. And just lawn darts up here.
Oh yeah, that's the line I see when I see this hole. Out just a little bit, nose up, stall back at it. And a little bit too much try on that one. Just kind of forced it over.
That may be an example of John kind of playing against his strengths. 324 for players who aren't super forehand confident or proficient means you got to do a little extra work. Keith in there and getting himself to 5 under on the round through 8 holes. We saw in round 1 that double digits, very attainable, but you don't want to put that up to some of the harder holes on the back. Good to get those scoring done early.
Absolutely. So 5 through 8, a great start. Got one more birdie opportunity on the front 9. As Dickerson still working that bounce back train, he's got himself a turkey now. Back to 2 under par. Gonna need to string some more birdies together after those couple of rough holes. As clean of golf and as spectacular of golf as we have seen played so far, just those 2 holes really caused him to drop quite a few spots with how tight the field is this week.
Yeah, unquestionably. I saw a statistic just before we started recording that the top 10 players in this tournament today had 3 bogeys among them. Just not a lot out there. Hole 9, 750 feet. It's a big valley shot with a gap off the tee. You want to work yourself to the left side, which will likely leave a hyzer backhand with a distance driver, or if you've thrown a good enough tee shot, possibly a flex forehand. The green protected on the right side by a very large branchy tree and on a pretty severe downslope.
Yeah, another one of those fun par 4s to play. Again, I think played harder today than yesterday.
Corey kind of pulls it through the right side, but enough speed to push through the branches. Keith actually going to a forehand here. I like the idea to kind of have the disc gliding to the left instead of fading to the left.
As a lefty, I find it strange, but it is a viable shot to work out to land in a good spot. It's just coming out of this tunnel, the way that the downhill goes, it's difficult to not turn it over too much like what Emerson did. As Chris gets up there to a good spot, it is kind of possible, in my opinion, to go too far on this hole. There's a nice flat landing zone just to the left of that tree John is heading towards now. And if you push up past that tree, you have quite an upslope you have to deal with for your run-up.
And that makes not just your footing, but your nose angle difficult to manage as you're getting into the green. Keith, the furthest back, somewhere in the neighborhood of 425 or so, pretty severely uphill, and won't make all the distance, but does get into circle 2. This is a gut check.
Yeah, that's a pretty good shot from where he was at. That's kind of where you see good second shots go Unless you're Corey Ellis and can slide underneath a branch that's on the ground.
That just hovercrafted for 200 feet.
Fun stuff. That's what happens when you've got that line drive power. Doesn't matter how high it is as long as it doesn't touch the ground.
And John, a little long right. There is an out-of-bounds pond back there. You saw his disc continue trucking down the hill, but does stay safe. And Dickerson going to keep that line low, trying to penetrate, and also to the backside.
Do you think he was looking to go around those branches?
I think it's possible. I think they've been cleared out a little bit more than in years past, which makes pin high right a little bit inviting rather than getting trapped in circle 2 with no putt at all.
And Emerson maybe trying to give that a bid, but difficult to get yourself to really commit to that. John coming back for a birdie look now.
And a good run. Perspective doesn't really do that justice. His head is probably level with the base of the pole from that location. And Dickerson making it rain from deep.
Just on a tear right now. You can still hardly see him, even with the rewind. Back in the woods. What a great putt. 4 in a row now to finish out this front 9.
Yeah, he was over par and very quickly back to 3 under. Keith makes his comebacker for the par, closing him out at 5 down on the round, 16 overall. I imagine John's going to knock in his pretty routine par, but Corey Ellis lighting it up with 7 down on the front, pushing himself into solo 3rd place.
Yeah, 7 down. What seemed to be a good round a couple years ago now is what you need on the front 9 to keep yourself in a good spot. And Corey Ellis has done that, leading the way for this chase card so far. Emerson Keith not too far behind with 5 birdies. John Willis, clean round, just going to need to pick up a few more birdies to get himself going. And Chris Dickerson, a bit of a roller coaster, but going the right way right now.
And once again, you see the field really making a push here. I've seen some great golf so far on this front 9. Really looking forward to the back for more scoring, more great shots, and more Nathan Queen.
Yeah, looking forward to it as well. Lots of great shots, more Andrew Fish. I'm Nathan Queen. We'll see you guys out there.